Oh, oh, we're starting. Well, excuse me for appearing in different attire than my usual shirt. I'm in an undisclosed location because I've been associating myself with rather unsavory characters. Well, you live and learn. And that is my primary effort at the moment, to live and, if I have time, to learn. So let's pursue that effort together. Welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Interesting. I have a 19 degrees Celsius drink here, and well, you can't start a discussion without having a drink, can you? Why do we love Mafia?
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Well, that is not a good example because I don't think anyone wants to end up like Henry Hill. Prove me wrong, internet. But what is about Mafia that entraps us and makes us want to see that world? I think, at least in my case, when I think of Mafia, organized crime, or gangsters, I usually go to the more exuberant ones. John Dillinger, Al Capone, Lefty Rosenthal, and of course, without no doubt, when I think of gangsters and Mafia in general, my brain first goes to him.
But let's be frank, you never wanted my friendship. And you were afraid to be in my debt.
The Godfather is a perfect movie. It's my second favorite movie of all time, and I think it has the perfect script ever written in the history of cinema. I'm not even exaggerating. But I also think the view it gave of the Mafia was, for the lack of a better word, biased. It doesn't make the movie any worse, but it also can explain why the world of Mafia seems a bit like an honorable life, when in reality, it's really not. I think the reality of Mafia is definitely closer to what Martin Scorsese and Sergio Leone depicted in their respective movies. These are not honorable people, bound to a certain code of ethics. They are murderers, rapists, opportunistic assholes, and unstable gun-toting maniacs. But that is also part of why their world seems intriguing. Whether we go with the social structure of The Godfather or the total anarchy and bloodthirst of Goodfellas, the end result is the same. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. I'm sorry, I promise from this point forward to limit myself from quoting rap lyrics. I think I'm a bit too nerdy for that. But as fun as it looks to live in that world and eat that food and kiss the ring on the hand of the patriarch of a mafia family, the risk does not justify it. So it falls in the same category as fighting aliens in real life or managing an army of centurions. It's better to experience it in the virtual world of video games. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. To find that video game that can make me feel like I'm not only a member of the Mafia, but I can make my own family and get into that bloodthirsty world and leave a mark. That quest brought me to the subject of this video, a 2013 strategy simulation game called Omerta, City of Gangsters. Not to be confused with Omerta, the web browser game. It's a whole thing, but just know that the reason why I keep saying the full name of Omerta, City of Gangsters throughout the video is to avoid confusion. The game caught my attention as one of the few strategy Mafia-themed games, and I'll get into that more later in the video. And as being made by the same studio that made Tropico 5, one of my favorite strategy games. I played it, and well, by my urge to make a video about it, you can guess it worked my brain hard enough to make me want to speak. God damn it, Fat Tony, where are you? Oh, there you are. Well, while we wait a certain someone to reach me here, I have some problems with the game on the more philosophical levels. But at the same time, I understand if you don't want to listen to me drone on about it and just want a quick review of the game. So here's that review, and after that I can talk about the game on a more base level. In short, I don't think Omerta's City of Gangsters is a worthwhile experience. It gets boring quite fast, and it's ultimately a very lackluster ordeal. Now, for the slightly longer version, the gameplay is clearly divided into two sections, the management and the tactical strategic battles. First, let's start with the management. You look at the map of the game like any other strategy game, and your minions go about to do your bidding. Much like Tropico, when you order something to be done, it's going to take time based on the whereabouts of your minions on the map, so it's important to keep that in mind if you want to have a smooth operation and don't waste a lot of time. The currency of the game is money and booze because it's prohibition, and so you need to have bootlegged booze ready at all times in order to proceed with some of the objectives. And that's basically it. You have the map, your goal is to amass enough wealth and booze to expand your operation and get more wealth and booze, and that's it. There are other currencies and collectibles too, like weapons, but the main ones are money and booze. You also need to have an eye on the other families in the map, and some events may have you handling local law enforcement or thugs. If my explanation of the gameplay seems simplistic, it's mostly because the game itself is treating the management aspect like that. Even though on the surface it seems expansive and in need of constant attention to run a very detailed operation, at the end of the day it's just a numbers game with very little fanfare. When you start a sandbox game or just a normal game outside of the campaign, you can fairly easily realize that after the first hour, it just becomes a mindless clicker. When you overcome the first hurdle, and if you play enough games, that becomes kind of like an automated reflex, if you know what I mean. The rest of the game is very bare bones. As I mentioned, it screams lackluster. You don't get any enjoyment out of getting that higher production number because ultimately it's pointless. At some point you'll get the entire map to yourself, and without any unique events or even a good enemy AI, it's just an idle clicker game. But the sad part, and the telling part, at least for me, is that these sections are the ones I enjoyed more. So now let's talk about the tactical strategic battles. I am not a big fan of XCOM and tactical strategy games in general, but I've played them, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Omerta City of Gangsters is just a very poor imitation of that genre. Again, it more than often bores you than excites you to start a battle. I'm more of a manager in strategy games, so I avoid combat if I can, but Omerta City of Gangsters makes me horrified to start a combat, because I know I'm going to fall asleep by the end of it. Many of the strategic points don't make sense in the game, and the power-ups that each character can bring ultimately feels pointless. The combat is very clunky and more based on chance than any sort of foresight. The outcome of two battles with the same exact strategy can vary noticeably based on what the random number generator pulls up. So it's not fun, and the stakes are very low when you know that your choices are not as important as what the game decides to do. I think I need a sip. Now, with the gameplay out of the way, I think visually the game looks okay. I like Tropico's atmosphere, and here we have a 1920s mafia coat on top of that. And I do enjoy it. I wish there was more of it, but what is there is not too bad, considering the game's age. The music, though, is unremarkable. Which is a big shame, considering the wealth of music that permeates the Mafia genre. And the story is also not very good. I know in strategy games, story is more of an icing on the cake, but the story in Omerta City of Gangsters is so empty of any value that it could easily be replaced with a mission board. But as I said, it's more of an icing on the cake. And here the cake is kind of bland. So the result is, I don't think Omerta City of Gangsters has a lot of replayability. So that is the quick review. I don't recommend playing Omerta City of Gangsters, even as a curiosity. It becomes boring quite fast, and when the veneer of Mafia ultimately gets thin, it shows a bare-bone structure that is, quite frankly, not fun to engage with. But that's all. It's a mediocre game, and I've played much worse and much better. So why would I need to make a video about it? Well, now that you have a good idea of what the game is about, I can talk about the reasons that I think Omerta City of Gangsters is flawed on a more structural basis. This is the nagging feeling I had when I finished playing the game. Oh, I think I can see fat. Oh, fuck! Fuck, shit! Well, as you can see, my current predicament is not very comfortable. If you want to leave this video with one lesson, don't trust people that call themselves Luca the Liar, because the chances are they are lying to you. And Don Malvivente is not going to spend all day in his daughter's christening, and is going to return sooner to his casino and catch you red-handed. But that's not here or there. Well, at the very least, they left me my drink. It's gotten warm. God damn it. 23. Oh, fucking hell. 23 degrees centigrade. Fucking hell. Now, let's talk about what Omerta City of Gangsters gets wrong on a fundamental level. To put plainly, Mafia is not a tactical operation. Now, I don't mean a strategy game about Mafia doesn't work. On the contrary, I think it can be an extremely enjoyable experience. But I don't think the combat as a tactical strategy battle is going to work. Let's go back to the Mafia aesthetic. Whether we like it or not, the aesthetic has been developed and cemented by motion pictures. From Little Caesar to Casino, there is a trend when it comes to mafiosos' rise to power. The bloodshed is brutal, but very brief. A Mafia hitman is not going to be as precise as Agent 47. It's going to be loud and oftentimes very public, because the battle in the world of Mafia is not a strategic battle of might. It's a message, and most of the time the politics that revolved around the hit is more intriguing than the hit itself. So I think ultimately when you put men with Tommy guns who are designed to perform drive-bys and kill their targets publicly in a tactical strategy battle, you kind of lose the reason why Mafia did hits. As I mentioned, the management in Omerta City of Gangsters is also lackluster. But it's the more enjoyable part because it falls more in line with what being a mafia don is about. You don't go to lengthy wars, you make deals and make strategic hits on people to send messages to the public. You burn places down and expand your operation, but you need to be careful of who is in your proximity and what will your actions bring. Yes, that sounds a little bit boring perhaps, but when you go that deep into creating an experience like that, it's ultimately going to satisfy the people who like that sort of feeling. When you go into the game in order to feel like a member of Mafia, you want the good and the bad. You want to have rackets and operations that rely on trust and maybe a few backstabbing. But I think in an effort to make the game more interesting, Omerta City of Gangsters ends up being a forgettable experience that is only notable because there isn't any better version of it available. It's odd to say it like this, but one of the most important parts of being a Mafia don is the politics of it. And this strategy game has zero of that in mind. It's more interested in presenting characters with unique percentages. This is very hard to do while your hands are tied. For the tactical battle, but not interested in creating a web of relationships that could untangle in a minute by the actions of one maniac. So it doesn't end up feeling like a Mafia game. It ends up feeling like a below average XCOM clone with an add-on management aspect that gets in the way. It's weird to me because, honestly, I think Tropico had a better understanding of those politics, but in a more dictatorship way than Mafia. So the blueprint was there for this studio, but they decided to not use it. It's weird. It seems my inside contact is here. Always have a backup plan, kids, especially when dealing with people who name themselves Luca the Liar. Hello dear, would you mind be so kind and relieve me of my current predicament? I'm sorry about the mess, but I need to pack a small suitcase. I'm heading for a vacation. Yes, it's a vacation. I just need to wait for a package courtesy of my good friend Mr. Giuseppe Falsario, then I can get to my vacation. Well, as I mentioned, I started with a quest to find a game that would give me the feeling of being part of a mafia, and maybe even having my own mafia family. I have played the Mafia series and I was looking for something a little more on the managerial side. Well, I was looking for the intricate inner workings of managing a mafia family and interacting with the world in that regard. I think copying XCOM wasn't the right choice. If we're going to base it entirely on another game, I think it needs to be more like Crusader Kings, with more emphasis on the politics and diplomatic approaches and even less focus on the battle. In the end, Mafia gang wars are not actual wars. They don't have generals and armies, they have hitmen and messaging. The danger of dealing with them needs to be front and center, but not what guns they have and how many people they have, but with how they manage their business and how they manage their family. I hope I'm not coming off as a dick. It's just that as of now I haven't found anything to scratch that itch in a mafia atmosphere. I have to say though, my quest hasn't failed. It just hasn't reached an end yet. There are Mafia games that I've played with some degree of enjoyment and success, like Gangsters 2 or the aforementioned Mafia series, excluding the third one. And there are more games in the horizon that I want to play. Empire of Sin is one of them, even though from what I've seen it's eerily similar to Omerta City of Gangsters. I want to also play Gangland and see what that is all about. Maybe the game I'm describing already exists and I still just haven't found it yet. If I do, then this video will definitely get an amendment. And hey, if you know any games that fit it, do tell me in the comments. In the meantime, I'm glad there are games like Crusader Kings and Sid Meier's Civilization that sort of make me experience playing with the politics and having fun that way. I just wish one of my favorite subgenres in media would get the same treatment as well. Because I love mafia movies. They are fun, they are filled with tension, they are atmospheric as fuck. And they are so expansive in so many ways that it's hard not to get sucked into the whole crime world just to see these people kill each other. One of the best shows of all time was about mafia. One of the best movies of all time was about mafia. I think it's time we can make one of the best games of all time be about mafia too. And no, GTA doesn't count. The good ones don't even have that big of an emphasis on mafia. You know what I mean. Oh, the package is here. Well, say hola to Mr. Floyd Calhoun from Florida. Could have done better with the name, but it's not important. It's the thought that counts. Now, if you excuse me, I need to sort of don a disguise, pun very much intended, just for fun, for vacation. So while I take this vacation, until things get calmed down back home, why don't you like the video? And write a comment. You know, YouTube rewards videos that get more engagement. And if you enjoyed the video, I'll hope you give it a thumbs up. And click on the subscribe button as well. If you feel extremely good about it, I would also very much appreciate you sharing the video with your friends or on your social media. You can also find me on Instagram under akamse88, where I'll be posting any updates regarding to the channel, at least at the moment. With that said, I'm Floyd Calhoun, and if you excuse me, I have a train to catch. Almost forgot my drink.